let's get started. I think we hemmed and hawed and filled time long enough. I'm
I
Andrew.
hemmed and you hawed, so.
I'm Andrew. This is Bobby. We're regular
Okay.
faces around here,
Yes.
and we're excited to have Sherry with us today. So, Sherry, what part of the country are you in?
Well, currently I'm in a little town called Springville, California, and we have a population of less than 1,000 people. And it's considered the Central Valley of California. So I'm in the Sierra foothills, and you'd go through Springville if you're going up to the Sequoia mountains, mountain range, land of 100 giants, up through that area. So that's where I reside.
And would you consider the area that you live rural?
Yes, it's very rural. Yes. We only have one stop sign. We don't have any shopping centers. We have one school. Yeah, it's very rural.
Like some of the towns I grew up in.
Not even a Walmart?
No, we don't have no Walmarts. You have to actually travel about 17 miles to the closest Walmart.
Mm-hmm. So, needless to say, there must be quite a few quilters in your town.
In Springville, there are a couple. The majority of the quilters, probably in a 60-mile radius, there's probably about 40 quilters. Yes.
I should have specified quilt top makers.
Yeah, we have a lot of people who make quilts. Yes.
Quilts. Yeah. That's an unfortunate thing. We use the word quilter for both.
Yeah.
I should have specified that it seems like the type of area where
there's a notable difference there.
Yes. So how long have you been long arm quilting?
Well, I received my machine December 13th of 2012. And so I started the week after that doing long arm quilting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been about little over 11 years.
Mm-hmm. So how did you come across your first gamel?
Well, that's quite an interesting story. I actually
You like interesting stories.
Okay. I've been quilting for a long time, and I was looking for long armor to do my quilts. Mainly I was doing my quilts on a domestic machine, and queen and king size quilts are just too hard to do. I went through several long armors before I found someone in another city who actually became quite a good friend and one of my mentors through my journey. So that's how I became introduced to a gamel. And the original gamel that she had was hand guided only. And actually, when I purchased my Statler, she actually upgraded hers from a hand guided to the Statler computerized.
Okay, so were you the inspiration for her doing that?
I would like to think so, yes. She came and seen my machine, and she was quite impressed with all the bells and whistles, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, having spent probably years doing hand-guided quilting, it's pretty amazing to watch the machine do, well, it pretty much quilts by itself.
Yeah.
So did you go directly from doing hand guided to a Statler?
Yes, I went from doing quilting and quilt as you go type quilts on a domestic machine straight to a Statler. Yes, I did. Mm-hmm. But I did a lot of research before I actually bought my Statler.
Mm-hmm. Why did you, now obviously you had a friend with the hand-guided gamel. What was that decision process that led you to getting the Statler? Why did you pick that?
Well, after much research and actually going to different places to try out different machines, and I tried out probably about 10 different models and brands. I decided that the Statler was the machine to have because of all the capabilities, because it was really an industrial type machine and would hold up to years of labor. So that's why I bought it.
So you put some real time and energy into that research, it sounds like.
Yes, I did. Yes, I spent lots of money to go and actually take classes on other machines. So I would actually have a good feel for what I was about to invest in.
When you first started, the software version, then would it have been Creative Studio 3 or 4?
I think it was yeah, it was probably well, was it 2.0?
It might have been 2, yeah.
I think it was 2.0, actually.
I've seen a lot of enhancements over the years.
Yes,
A lot of
yes.
changes since Creative Studio 2.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you still have the machine today, the same machine that you started with?
Yes, I do. It's right next to me from the other side of the room. Yes.
Yep.
So when you first started, you were getting this for business purposes, or was it just for personal?
There had been discussion with my husband. You know, I was still actively working at that time, and there was discussion about you know, doing my quilts, his mother's quilts, my mother's quilts, my sister's quilts. You know, it became a kind of a family affair, and some of the funds that we would save there. But yes, there was a lot of discussion about doing this as a business. Yes.
Had you been a business owner in any capacity before, or was this the first time that you went outside of a regular employment type?
No, we've been business owners in other businesses before.
So how did you know there was going to be enough long arm business in your area to support another quilter?
Well, again, I developed a business plan. I actually did go out and evaluate what the market would bear. And with all the information that I had, with the waiting times of other quilters, and the majority of quilters at that time were all hand-guided quilters. There were only maybe a couple that had any type of computerized system. And the fact that there was a lot of work being done that was not necessarily the quality that I thought could be completed. I thought that there was, and the waiting times, I mean, there were a lot of waiting times out there that were significant. And I knew I could.
What were you seeing it at that time from other people?
I really felt like I could deliver a quality product, a service, and be able to pay for my machine.
So it's been a long time since you did that, but I think a lot of people would be interested to know how you kind of surveyed the market and came to your decision. Now, you mentioned that you looked at how much waiting time different quilters in your area were backlogged for.
Correct.
Did you also do a survey on what their prices were?
I did. I actually, I was really kind of lucky. I belonged to 2 different quilt guilds that were very large. So I was able to really network with the people out there and find out what was being charged and their times and the types of quilting that they did and what type of density, and did they charge for, did they have a thread charge, did they have a minimum charge? So I did look at all of those different areas.
And did you get this information directly by talking with the lady doing the long arm quilting, or did you mostly talk to their customers?
Actually, I talked to the majority of the long armers themselves.
Mhm. Very interesting. I think other people would be. Sometimes people are afraid to do that research,
Mhm.
but let me make an observation here for anybody who's listening. If there's a lady doing quilting, I shouldn't say lady, it could be a man. If
Could be
there's a
man.
person running a long arm quilting business and they have a 3-month backlog, this
Mhm.
person is not worried about somebody coming into the market to do a few more quilts. This lady is worried about all these quilts that have to be done and where is she going to find the time to do them. She's
Mhm.
not worried about somebody coming along and shouldering part of that burden.
No, actually, in speaking to these ladies, and most of them I've developed relationships with along the way, they were actually quite open to having, to see, where you were and what you wanted to do and what type of quilting you wanted to do. And actually, I felt quite welcomed. I never did really get much of a backlash for asking questions. They were very open and honest, and gave me really good information.
So you found, yeah, so you found this openness with the vast majority
Mhm,
of the quilters that you talk to. That
mhm.
that is a good observation and piece of information for a lot of the people watching
Yeah,
this.
occasionally you'll come across somebody who's not that way, but that's just because we don't have stringent enough rules about who gets to enter the quilting club.
And Sherry, just to be specific, where at this time you were in the same small town that you're in now?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, how did you come up with the funds to purchase your machine?
Well, I have a very loving husband and very supportive. But we actually had savings, and we took part of that savings. Again, I had developed a business plan. I really looked at what my goals were going to be and what I wanted to accomplish within the first, 5 years of my business. But we actually did put a down payment, and then we financed my machine, and went from there.
I do want to say that we didn't mention that for the people that are watching this live or listening live, you can post questions on here.
Yeah, there's a little button at the bottom of your screen that looks like a little speech bubble, and you can type a question in there. So how did you find customers for your new business? Did they just find you, or what did you do?
Well, there were a lot of quilters in the general vicinity within, within 75 miles. And, I bought fabric at quilt shops and left my information there. In my immediate vicinity, most of my customers were my friends that actually I had taught them some basic quilting skills, and so they would bring me their quilts. Again, I had my family and word of mouth. And then, I found a little niche that other people weren't willing, or I don't know if willing is the most accurate word, but there was a market out there that other people weren't taking advantage of. And I put myself in that market, and that was actually dealing with antique quilt or vintage quilts and t-shirt quilts and things that other people didn't necessarily want to do. So I took those on. I found myself a niche, and I did really well there. So
Wonderful, wonderful.
We have, Jean is asking a question. How long did it take to pay off your machine?
18 months.
Mhm.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. I worked really hard. Long hours. And I was employed full time
Yeah,
outside.
I was about to mention that and ask about that. You started out, you were working outside this
Yeah.
company full time. And what's your situation with that now? Are you quilting full time now, or?
Well, not actually. I did retire. I'll be retired 2 years this March, the end of March. And I was a nurse for many, many, many years. And so I am exploring doing full time, but my husband and I are finishing up our home that we're building in Oregon. So that's kind of taken a chunk of my time.
Mhm. So when you say that you paid off your machine in 18 months while you were working full time, uh, that that obviously means that you were working you had a lot of focus. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate. That's a great word. Yes, I was very focused, and I would work after work and on weekends. Um, uh, my children are grown and gone, so I didn't have little children to take care of, but I do have a husband and a little dog to take care of. So, but yes, it was very, very
Very
focused
important too.
experience.
What at this point then you're kind of probably giving people what I'm trying to ask is if somebody was to bring you a quilt today, are you going to tell them it'll be a couple months before it gets back just because you're not doing as many quilts as you were before?
No, actually, if I was brought a quilt today, that quilt would be ready and for the customer by, well, let's see, today is Tuesday. If I had a queen size quilt brought to me tonight, it would be done by next Monday.
That's a quick turnaround time.
Yeah. I do my quilts by appointments, so I don't have a backlog.
Mhm. We got another question, which was asking if you use the computer on all your quilts, which I think the other side of that is, do you do any hand-guided quilting with your machine?
I do absolutely no hand guided. I don't really know how to do hand guided well. I've learned to use my computer as well as I can in regards to edge to edge. Currently, edge to edge is all I do because that's all I have time to do.
Mhm.
So I do not do any custom work at this particular time.
Before we went live, we were chit-chatting a little bit, and I remember you said something. I asked about the ribbon behind you, and tell us about that ribbon and the quilt that you won it with.
Um, That's a good story. That was one of my very first customers who was very supportive. She had also been my piano teacher in college um, as an adult. And I quickly learned I couldn't play piano. But she was also a quilter, and she was in the Quilt Guild, and we were actually president and vice president of our guild at that particular time. And she wanted this quilt custom quilted. I had my machine, and I told her, okay, I'll do it. And it was a learning experience. It was my very first custom quilt. And I loved every moment of it, although there were lots of tears. And I became well acquainted with Jack the Ripper. And but it won grand champion reserve. And at that particular time, she was in her 80s when she made that quilt. She has since gone on to a better place, and she actually gave me that quilt before she had to move in with her daughter, because she wanted me to have it to be able to show customers my work.
Mm.
So, yes.
Wow.
I have done other custom quilts, but because of my time limitations at this particular, actually, since probably since COVID, I have not done custom quilts because it's just, time consuming.
Yeah,
I can do a lot more edge to edge than I can in the time that it takes me to do a custom.
Mhm. What's your rate per square inch there for the edge to edge quilting?
Well, depending on what the type, I have 3 different levels. I have a light quilting, a moderate, and a heavy density quilting for edge to edge. The most common that is chosen is 2.0. I pay 2 cents an inch, square inch. That's what they pay for me.
Mhm.
And that's for I'll say light quilting on my side, but they get a very good density for the 2 cents.
Mhm.
And for an average size queen quilt, what would you say that?
Well, I just did a quilt 96 by 96, and it was $190, about $190, so about $200.
Perfect. Um, so the one of my favorite questions, but unfortunately people can't answer it a lot of times because they don't keep really great records, but you might be able to answer this, is how well you did during your best year versus your worst year. And
Well, my very best year was probably the 18 months. That was about a year and a half. And I made enough to pay off my machine. So as we know, the Statlers are fairly expensive. I put a third down. So
Mhm.
we're talking right around, excuse me. Excuse me. It was about $26,000.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that was a period of time. During that period of time, you were putting out a high volume of quilts, huh?
Yes, I did. Yes.
With a lot more than what you're doing currently.
Yes. Um, my volume started going down during the COVID years, 2 years of COVID, but not probably went down about half. And the last 2 years I've been building a house, so we're right around the $1,000 a month mark.
Mhm. Yeah, the focus has a lot to do with it. Like
Mhm.
any other type of business, you get out of it what you put into it. So,
Exactly.
mhm. Yeah. Do you offer any other services like binding or have you done t-shirt quilts recently? Piecing them for people?
I actually do have a range of services. I provide batting. I will piece backs for people if that's what they choose to do. I do binding, and I also have an additional person that I outsource bindings to, my mother-in-law, actually, who does a fabulous job with it. And I actually am commissioned on occasion to make quilt. T-shirt quilts seem to be the thing that people come to me, so I do t-shirt quilts.
Mhm. That's awesome.
So for the people that are watching this podcast or listening in the future, what would you say was perhaps the hardest part of growing your business, or something difficult about it?
Well, the hardest part for me, quite honestly, was the mechanics of my machine. I I had a lot of issues with my machine in the beginning. especially in regards to the way it was running and tension issues and those types of things. But as I said, I have a fabulous husband who was able to help me in that area. So to me, that was probably the most challenging, was just getting to really know my machine. I think it's really, really critical that you know exactly what goes on in that machine, not only as far as what it can do on the computer, but mechanically. I think you really need to have that background.
Mhm. Well, and 12 years ago, a lot of things were different, and I'm just thinking of
Yes, they were.
some of the other people that I've talked to, where the machine got dropped on their doorstep and put together, and it's a whirlwind of here's how you run it, and then boom, the guy's gone.
Yeah, that was an experience for me. Yes, we had some real issues in the beginning. The first year, it was a tough year, but we made it work.
Hmm. The old days were not always good old days. There's sometimes people ask, why doesn't Gamble have dealers anymore? Why do we do all the deliveries with factory technicians and factory delivery people and factory trucks? Why did you take it all in-house? And it's like, well, because if a guy doesn't do awesome, he's gone.
Yeah.
Right? It's awesome or nothing.
Yeah, back when there were dealers spread out, there sometimes was not the consistency. A person in one place might have very good quality of service available to them, but a person a few hours away, a totally different story. And so the process of bringing everything in-house has enabled us to have consistency all across the country.
Yeah, we try really hard to be positive towards the old days, but it's hard because there was a lot of, well, and of course the other companies still do things that way, but there was so much head shaking. It's like that should have.
I will say that I just recently had my Gamble serviced by one of the techs, and it was fabulous. It was wonderful to have someone here, and actually gave me really good information, education, something I had not ever had before. And living in a mountain community, I couldn't get anybody to come up here. So I have to say I was really, really impressed with the type of service that I had just a few weeks ago. It was great.
Thank you. I had no idea. I make a practice of not looking up people's file before the interview because I never know what I'm going to find out, but I'd rather be surprised. It keeps it a genuine interview. So thank you.
And the other thing that this makes me think about the good old days versus today is that there's there's so much education that is available. The new owner training that's available on our website, gamble.com, the Accelerate program, which kind of spoon feeds a lot of the experiences that you have been through, Sherry, that you research that you've done yourself and looked into things yourself. The Accelerate program gives people a lot of that, much more at fingertips reach.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great.
So what is one change in technology that makes it easier for you today in your business than it was 12 years ago or 11 years ago when you started?
It's actually been all of the information, the educational resources and the videos that are just right at your fingertips. I did not have that. If I'd had that, oh my gosh, my life would have been so much easier. So it really has been, I am going back, looking through all the videos. I'm learning something every day about my machines. So things that I had no idea. No clue, not a clue.
Mhm. But you got along okay. It didn't kill you.
I did.
So who's been your biggest cheerleader and your support system through this?
Well, I guess that really depends upon the part of the journey that you're in.
Oh, you can
Uh,
mention a couple people.
okay. Well, my husband, because he's been the person that said, if you know, make sure you do your research and we get and he was an active part of that. Make sure that we get the very best machine that we can get. He's helped me troubleshoot and been the main mechanic for this machine for all these years. Um, I've also had mentors. I've had my friend when I was having some issues, come and talk me through things, come up to the house and help me. I've had mentors like Joan Nye, and I've had Georgia Stoll. I've had a variety of people that have just been so very helpful. Even people in Australia who I could call and talk to. So, there's just at each different stage, there was a mentor. There was someone there to help me along the way.
It's a big family, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Mhm.
It really is.
It's a family that you grow into. The people I see that are just starting out and people that have been in it for a long time, you get the sense from both of those groups of people that it's a family. And the ones that are early on, they don't know how deep and rich of a family that it is. So
Yeah.
the best is even yet to come. We have another question. Beth is asking, what version of Creative Studio are you currently using?
Currently, I'm using 7.2.
Oh, we got to get you upgraded to 7.5. It's an easy move. But it
I've
gets
just been scared. I just been scared.
you won't notice any difference except some of the bugs you've been working around are gone.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, you won't notice anything really different. That and you can easily delete patterns. Not that you want to, but they go into a sort of a recycle bin now. So if you ever do delete a pattern and then think, oh no, I shouldn't have done that, you can go fetch it out of the recycle bin. It's
That's
not.
good.
Oh
I'll
yeah.
have to figure out how to do it. I'll have to upgrade.
Yeah, it's easy and free.
Each subsequent version of in particularly in Creative Studio 7 has gotten rid of some glitches that were in the previous ones. It's improved each level.
I will say that when we change the big number, like from 6 to 7, that changes a lot of things.
Yes.
You have to
Yes, that did.
learn the differences. When we change the little numbers, a lot of times you won't notice the differences unless you read the document that says we did this and we did that and enhance this. The quilts, roll forward a little straighter than they used to, things
Mhm.
like that. What is something that you wish someone would have told you when you first started?
So many things. No, actually, I think I actually I wish someone had told me to become better acquainted with my machine and to really read the manual on how to maintain your machine. I think that would have been really helpful for me.
Mhm.
And I think the modern day equivalent of what you're saying there is people should avail themselves of the vast amount of information that's available with their machine now and train.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Become familiar with it. I mean, when I had the first creative studio, I downloaded the whole manual and I was trying to get through it, but I think if I just had a little bit more direction on some of the most important mechanical parts of the operation of my machine, I would have been much better off.
Those monthly coaching visits that people get now with their new machine, you get one a month for 12 months. That's really
Wow.
good for onboarding people.
Wow. That would have been wonderful.
Yeah, it would have been. Um, what's been the impact of I mean, obviously, as you ran this business, you made money, which got added to the family budget. What kind of impact has that additional money made in your life?
Well, most of that money gets, I put some away to, buy my threads and the maintenance of my machine and stuff. But a lot of that money has been utilized for the things that I'm interested in, such as charities. I also have been able to help out grandchildren with college expenses, family emergencies for my extended family and myself. I mean, it's always nice to have some extra funds, and it's been very helpful.
Mhm. I can see that.
Yeah, when good people have money, they are able to be a blessing to others, and and that's rewarding to you too, isn't it? I know.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
So, if I want to, if I want to send an extra special gift to, someone I know, I can do that. And, I have some real charities that I really think a lot of. So I try to donate to them.
Awesome. Well, we've made it to our last question. So 11 years ago, you got this Statler machine and started this whole thing. What advice would you give to somebody who's like the younger version of you and who wants to do what you've done? Is it still possible for her today?
Oh, it is. There's a lot of possibilities out there. I think you have to be smart about it. This is not something to just arbitrarily jump into. You need to give it some thought. You need to identify what your objectives are, what what are the goals, how do you plan. You need a business plan. It's a business, and so you need to be smart about that. But I believe there's plenty of work out there for people. It might be more challenging in more urban areas, but if you just look around and you feel around and you talk to people, you find out there are little unique niches that you can get into, and you develop wonderful relationships along the way. So yeah, do it. Just do it.
Just do it. Well,
Mm.
this has been an inspiring interview, I think.
Oh,
This is one of the good ones.
They're all good.
everyone I've listened to has been very, very good.
Yeah.
Actually, I've really enjoyed it.
Well, we try to ask the questions that are actually going to matter. You could probably pump people for platitudes, but that's not really gonna help anybody.
People can see through that stuff right away.
Mhm.
So
Out there in internet land, 14 people are looking up the word platitudes. It's Platit.
what I gotta put up with here.
I don't normally eat sugar, and I had a donut shortly before this podcast, so
That's
I'm
what
completely
I
incorrigible
knew
at this
something
point.
was up. Yeah.
Yes, I don't normally consume sugar. Sherry, it's been great to have you here on the podcast
Yes.
today. I believe that it will help people to decide what they want to do with their life, and I I have seen a lot of good that quilters like yours have done out there in the world. And whether it's the beauty that they create or the warmth and comfort of handing a quilt to somebody who needs to be wrapped in a hug, there's a lot of things that are better in this world because of people like you. And I appreciate you sharing your story.
Well, thank you so much. I was really excited about it. I did have some, I was a little nervous about, talking about my journey, and because, as with any new business, you're going to have some challenges along the way, and there'll be bumps in the roads. But, the term you use, keep your focus. Just keep your focus and keep moving forward. And the great thing about this business is that you can step back from it. I've stepped back the past 2 or 3 years, and when I'm ready to come back and work full force, my customers are there. They're there. They're glad to see me back. So, you know, just do it. Just do it. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sherry.
Sherry,
Thank you.
do you have a website or any information that you would like to share, how people can get in touch with you or ask you?
Well, the name of my company is Zoe's Quilting Designs, and I do have a Facebook page, so they can like me there.
Now, is that spelled Zoey?
It's ZOE''S,
Ah,
Zoe's Quilting Design. And if they want to email me, they can email me at creekquilting@gmail.com.
fantastic.
Okay. Sherry, thank you so much for joining us. It's been
Thank
very
you.
rewarding, and we definitely appreciate it.
All right, you guys have a nice week.
Thank you. Have a nice
Okay,
evening.
you take care. Bye-bye,
Bye.
everybody.